Welcome back to the Behind Their Business podcast, or welcome to the show if this is your first time listening. Today, our guest is going to share a really powerful story and about her experiences with infertility and the emotional roller coaster of her experiences and how she now uses those learnings to help her clients. And in her business, our guest is an infertility relationship coach, which is such a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that she exists to help people, help married couples who are dealing with infertility. And she helps them to wade through the disappointments that comes with this journey and really bring that marriage back to that strong foundation so that they can enjoy the process of creating a family and living a really fulfilled life. So, Jamie Bendorf, welcome to the podcast. I am so glad that you're here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Like incredibly excited. I'm like sweating. I'm so excited.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's just dive in. Tell us about you. Tell us about your journey. And again, I know I said this off the air, but I want to say this on there too. Like share as much or as little as you feel comfortable sharing, because this is your story. So I want to kind of just hand the microphone over to you and you take it away, and then I'll hop in wherever necessary.
Yeah. I am like an open book. My story is not something that I'm shy to talk about, just because it has left such a huge impact on my life. And I know it's going to, kind of resonate in pieces with some other people. And so I'm an open book. If there's ever any questions that come out of this that you're like, wait, what? Like message me or, seriously, I want to chat. So let's go back. I got married very young. I got married at 20, and my husband and I had this dream before we got married that we were going to wait 5 years before we had kids because we wanted to travel. We wanted to, live life luxury and not really focus on, the stress of having a baby. And shortly after we got married, one of our best friends got married right at the same time and they got pregnant. So then the plan started to shift and change. And my husband was like, we need to have a baby. Like, we need to start now. And I'm like, what happened to the plan? Like, I thought we were on this same mindset here. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go off birth control and we'll just let the chips fall where they may. If I get blessed with a baby, then we're supposed to have one. And shortly after I got off, cycles stopped coming and life just got really interesting, honestly. And it was just kind of like, what is wrong? Like, what is wrong? Like, what is wrong? What's wrong with my body? We're created as women to have children. And if you want a child, you should be able to have a child. It shouldn't be so hard. And so what we walked through, it took us 4 years before we had our little blessing. And in that time, I was diagnosed with a virus that attacked my thyroid. So I was losing hair, bruising. I could hardly get off the couch. I got diagnosed with vitamin D deficiency, like borderline, like I think my number was 27, 100 is low. Mine was 27. So I went on mega doses of vitamin D, hair still falling out, bruises, extreme exhaustion. I had a physically demanding job at that point in time. I was actually a massage therapist. And so I had to give a lot during the day. So by the time I came home, I just tanked. I tanked on the couch. I had nothing left to give. That rolled into PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's becoming more common now. When I got diagnosed, I knew no one person. I met one person a year or two after as I was diagnosed that had it. And so when you're looking, you don't know anybody, you're looking all these things up and you're getting doom and gloom. I swear Google was like this big, heavy, dark cloud hanging over my head. And basically telling me I'm never going to get pregnant. And if I do, I'm going to miscarry, 60% chance of miscarriage with PCOS. And you're like, oh my God, this is, I can't handle this. So we walked and we battled through that whole entire thing. And it was me. Like, I knew it was me. We knew he was fine. And so as a woman, that just totally strips you to your core. Like, you don't even feel woman anymore. You're like, who am I? You lose who you are, you lose your path, you lose your, like, everything comes to a standstill, and all these emotions just like fall on you, and you become angry, envious, bitter, you resent life. Like, you just feel them all, and they come in waves at different times, and you think you're on the right path, and then you get slammed by a brick wall again, month after month of negative pregnancy test. And it just really wears on you. It really beats you down. And so when we finally were blessed with our child, our first one, I have two now. When we first got pregnant with our first boy, I was terrified I was going to lose him, because the statistic says your probability of carrying this child is not there. So am I excited? Am I not excited? Like, you start to really question your excitement. I mean, usually when you get pregnant, you should be excited. That's an exciting journey to be a part of. And it's almost like you're fearing the health of a child. Well, thankfully he was okay and he was born. And at that point in time, I won't say that our marriage was all that great. Like, I loved him, he loved me, but were we really like 100% married at that point in time? Were we 100% gravitating to each other? No, we weren't. And I thought, okay, we have a baby. That's going to fix things, because we're finally have what we've been dreaming for 4 years. And it didn't. And I just couldn't figure out why there was this huge disconnect. And then we had baby number 2, and he came out of nowhere. Like, we were not planning for him at all, came out of nowhere. And, here's another baby. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this will help fix things. And it still didn't. And I remember somewhere in the end of that second pregnancy, I really felt like, this is it. Like, I'm going to raise these 2 babies on my own. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And collect myself. We had to make that choice, like, I had to figure out what was going on and why. And a lot of it comes from that doubt that infertility puts on you. And really, like, you question everything. You question everything you do. Your whole purpose is like, now I have these babies, and my purpose is now I'm a mom, and I'm so excited to be a mom. But I thought, I'm sorry.
No need to apologize at all. If you need to take a second, this is fine. You're fine.
The whole point of having a baby was to create a life with my husband, and that wasn't there. And so, fast forward, I have done so much healing on myself and inside of our marriage. And I will tell you, even my husband says, we have never had a marriage like what we do now. Is it still hard? Heck yes. I still get mad at him for, leaving something out that I have to walk over all the time. I still have those normal marriage, trials and stuff that come up. But I will tell you, like, walking through that whole entire journey, you can totally use it as your superpower. Like, you can totally use it as your superpower. Because it will impact you, and it will change how you think, and you'll react differently to things that come to you, just because of you have this doubt, this worth, this self-worth, am I enough thoughts that keep coming into your head, because through infertility, you didn't feel like you were enough. You didn't feel like you were worthy. You didn't feel like you were making smart decisions, just because it was so much thrown at you all the time that it kind of spirals. And I will say that maybe I'm a lucky one. I don't know, but I let that spiral suck me down and hold me for a long time. And I eventually got to a point where I'm like, either this is where I'm going to stay and I'm going to hate life and I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to raise these 2 kids on my own, which is not anything I ever wanted to do. I 100%, my husband and I were like, we are not getting a divorce. But when we first got married, he's from a divorced household. And so he knows what it does on a kid. And he's like, if we're doing this, we're committing 100%. And we kind of let life kind of ruin us a little bit, if you want to call it that, kind of spiral us out of control. And, it took us both making that commitment and being like, you know what, we're going to battle through this. And we came back together and our marriage is totally different now. He can see things in me that I think I kept hidden for a long time. And I can see things in him that, when he starts to act a certain way, I can kind of like tune in and be like, okay, there's something going on right there. I need to pay attention to that. Give him space. But at the same time, if you feel it's starting to disconnect again, you pull him back. And it's the same way that I run my business. Because there's a lot of fear, doing your own business. I question, I doubt, I do all those things every single time. And I have a hard time trying to take action because is it going to be the right thing? Is this the right decision? Is this the right, thing to spend my money on? Or is that going to create more financial burden? All those things that you can contribute to that infertility journey. Your desire is you really want a baby and you will do anything. I did anything to a point to get pregnant. And I use that into my business. I want to feed into that. But at the same time, I have those same reservations. But eventually, at some point in time, you make a decision and you're like, am I going to stay here where I'm not happy? Or am I going to make that choice? And am I going to push myself into something else? I don't know what the other side looks like. I didn't know if I was ever going to get pregnant. I didn't know if I was ever going to have my own children. But at the same time, it's the same thing for your business. You have to fight every single day for yourself. And that is like the biggest thing, is that fight for yourself is like so key in so many things. And your marriage will shift. Your relationships with your friends will shift. Just different things that will just come up in your life that are just natural life things, that pop up. You tackle them a little bit differently. Just because you have that background, you have that, and you use that background, you can use it as a crutch as it cripples you. And you have to use that crutch to like get your way through, or you can use that background and you can fill all those cracks and you make it super, super strong. And then you can be like, that's where I was, but this is where I'm at now, and you use that to shift and transition yourself into something else. And that is probably the biggest impact that infertility has done. Is it still something I battle with right now? Heck yes, I do. But I try really, really hard to make sure that I don't use it as a weakness. I use it as a strength. And that's something I have to wake up every single day and make that decision. It's not something that I like have mastered by any chance, but it's something you have to make, a decision you have to make. So yeah, that's my story in a long nutshell.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for being vulnerable, because I know that this will help so many other people who are going through the same thing. So I just wanted to again say thank you for sharing that. And I know that it wasn't easy for you, but your impact will have ripple effects, that's for sure. But I love everything that you said. But one of the things that you mentioned about breaking down and becoming stronger, in the end, it's kind of like that saying, there's beauty in the breakdown, because there really is. And I mean, I personally, I don't know, maybe people exist, maybe these types of people exist, but after I didn't have any infertility issues, thank goodness, I'm very grateful for that. But after my son was born, things were very difficult on my marriage as well, too. So, and for a couple of years, it wasn't until probably the past 6 months that our marriage is, like you said, like it's great. We are just so in sync all the time. Does he make me mad when he leaves crumbs on the counter? Absolutely. When he forgets to take out the garbage, yes, I yell, because those are normal married people things. But I know exactly what you're talking about, like that deeper connection, that deeper, I don't even know what words to use. It's kind of like a soul connection, right?
Right,
I
you
guess.
just jive differently.
Yes, yes. It's completely different. And I'm so glad that you and your husband were able to get to that point. So if anybody's listening right now who is in that like messy middle part, you are listening to two people who have gone through it and have come out on the other end, just in terms of relationships, marriage, things like that. But also, I love how you said how you now approach things in life differently too. It's almost like you view them differently. So if something were to affect you, I don't know, 3 years ago, one way, that same thing can happen to you again today, but now you're almost grateful for it, right? You're almost grateful for this
Right.
experience to happen to you, right? So one thing that I did want to ask, when did you start your business? So where does that kind of fit into your journey? Because I know you said you were a massage therapist before.
Yeah. So I graduated massage school when I was 19. So about a year before I got married, I worked in a very well-known massage clinic for about 4 years and did really, really well there, and decided I I really want to be I really want to buy in. I love my clients. I love the clinic. I'm super passionate about the work. Um, and I really wanted to take a bigger role on. And at the location I was at when I first joined, we were kind of thinking that one of the employers would be retiring pretty soon, and I could, with hope and dream, kind of fill in that position when she retired, and she wasn't ready yet. So I had to kind of make a choice, either I stay here where I'm at, keep doing what I'm doing, which is fine, or I could go with that passion of, being my own boss, setting my own hours. We didn't have kids at that point in time. And so I wanted a little bit more flexibility. So when the kids did come, I didn't feel like I had so much pressure of, working underneath of somebody and having different expectations. So at about that 4-year mark, I decided to open my own business, and I left there and went and started my own business. And the whole time my husband is like, "You are crazy. You're making good money. You are established. Like, what are you thinking?" And I'm like, I just have to take this jump. I have to take this leap. I feel really pulled to do this. I found a space. It's actually going to save money to go out on my own. So I'm going to do it.
And you went out on your own as a massage therapist, right?
I went out on my own as a massage therapist, and I retired from massage. It was about 16 years I massaged in. And I retired at the end of 2020. So at the beginning of the year, the whole COVID thing had started. And they shut me down. So then I was home virtual with my kids. And then by the time I went back, I just knew my body was done. Like, it was just done. So when my kids were still little, I knew there is not a lifelong massage profession. Like, you don't see people that are massaging 45 years and then they retire. Like, it's just a very small profession. Most people retire in that 15 to 20 year mark. And I told myself in the beginning, if I could get 15 years, I would be super happy with 15 years. But I knew that the longer I continued to work, the more likely I was going to push myself into surgery. And I was going to completely 100% phase myself out of massage because I was going to have some type of condition that wouldn't allow me to do it anymore. So I knew about 7 years in, I needed to go back to school, but what am I going to go back to school for? Massage was 100%. I knew I wanted to be a massage therapist when I was a freshman in high school. Like, this was exactly what I wanted to do. But who did Jamie want to be when she grew up? Like, I was doing what I wanted to do. So now who am I going to be? And so I had to really kind of think that through. And I had a whole bunch of clients and stuff that were coming in that they're like, "How do you know this stuff?" Like, we can ask you any question and you just know the answer to it. Like, how do you know this stuff? Well, when you're in that massage field, you kind of are in that like alternative thinking, that alternative mindset of, how can I fix this without surgery? And what can you take that, helps strengthen your body? Or, you kind of are in that like alternative kind of mindset. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm really good at that. I don't even know how, but I am, because I'm in massage. So somewhere along the way, I picked this stuff up. And so I went back to school and I got a natural health consulting diploma. I did that while my kids were babes. Like my oldest one was 3, my youngest one, I think, was a year. And I lived, eat, and breathed over work and a computer. I felt like the worst mom in the entire world. But I knew I had to do it. And so in that space, I had to figure out, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do? And infertility is such a huge heart of mine. It's a big, huge battle wound that, I so-called succeeded in because I have 2 children. And so I started researching and I found a fertility school. So I went through a fertility school. I've done some toxin training and education on top of that. And so now I've kind of branded myself into the infertility space. And I worked with couples with food and with toxins and with relationships. Those were my 3 key principles that I worked with. And in that moment, like, I can't guarantee a baby. I'm not God. I can't guarantee a baby. And so I had so many couples that came through and they're like, our relationship is totally different from when we started with you. And I really felt like that's where I'm supposed to be. Like, I felt like there was something missing the whole time I'm working with these clients. And I'm like, that's it. So when I transitioned out of my brick and mortar massage business and I was doing a limited fertility coaching on the side, I kind of fit them in where I could with my schedule. And when I came home, I'm like, I'm going to dive deeper into this relationship side. And so, yeah, it's just kind of weird how it all came about. It was nothing I ever thought I would ever do, but I love it. I'm passionate about it because I feel like the relationship side is such a huge piece that gets missed when you're going through infertility. It's so focused on when you are going through with doctors. Well, first off, you have to wait a whole year before a doctor's even going to see you. So you have to be like a year out of no baby before they'll even tackle anything with you, unless you have something massively major that's going on. And so you have a whole year of lost of no help, no support. And then once you get in with them and they start working on you, it's test, scan, test, scan, test, scan. I mean, like, there's so many things and they don't care about your financial budget. They don't ask you. And most insurance, no.
I was going to say, are most insurance, do they cover that or no?
Most do not. So it's 100% out of pocket. And,
wow.
Like one ultrasound can be $300, and that's not even really, that's paying for the ultrasound. So, it can get really expensive. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to stop until they get you pregnant. So they don't care whether you do, 10 IVF treatments or 5 IUIs or how much medication they'll give you. Most of the time, Clomid, that's an infertility med. Most insurance companies don't pay for that. So it's just kind of, it's hard. It's hard to know when to stop because let me tell you, your marriage is going to feel it way before they ever say, okay, we've exhausted all options. And so that balance of, you have to be really, really stuck and really strong inside of your marriage to get through the financial burden for one of infertility. And you haven't even tackled the emotional side, the physical side of it, because it can get downright painful if you're doing shots and you're doing shots multiple times a day. They're pumping you up with all these hormones. And so your body feels not like your own.
I'm sure,
like
and I'm sure your emotions are all out of whack, right, too. Yeah.
Like your mind is saying like, what is even going on with you? But your body is doing something completely different. And so you have to have that strength in that relationship to get through. And most relationships do start out really, really strong, but there's no end point. It's not like you're like, okay, we have a year and then we're going to have a baby. So we can do anything in a year. We can get through a year. We'll be fine. But you don't know whether you're going to have a baby in a year. It might be 10 years and you're still trying. Well, 10 years of going through a marriage of tons of financial burden, tons of physical burden, emotional burden, it's going to weigh on you and it's going to weigh on your husband. And then that's going to create a divide and it's going to split. I mean, I hate talking numbers because, I know what it did to me, but I mean, most couples that go through infertility, there is a high chance of divorce. And I look at myself and I look at how much finances I spent to get a baby to have with this man that I married, that I loved, that everything about him made me a better person. And I fought hard to get this baby. And now we have a baby, and what, I'm going to take another $15,000, $20,000 and throw it through a divorce. And for the next 18 years, I'm going to battle custody. I'm going to fight for holidays. I'm going to fight for, summers. And, it's like, why would we do that to ourselves? We already feel broken. And then we're going to throw that on top of it, which is not going to help us either. And every situation is different, so I can't say that, maybe some marriages do deserve to be in a divorce because you're just both toxic people and you're not ever going to be happy no matter how long you stay. But you have to make that choice, and you have to make that choice early.
Well, divorce rates are already at 50%, if not even higher at this point. And that's
Right.
without infertility. And
Right.
then you add that struggle on top of it. I can't even imagine. Just
right. So
a lot.
it's all about, yes. And it's all about working together. That's the one thing that is a perk of being married is you are half of 100%. Your husband doesn't have any more say than what you have. You have a say together, and that's what makes it 100%. And at some point in time, you might have to make the deciding decision, but you better have those talks, that I want to know exactly what he's thinking, what he's feeling, why he's feeling that. And I'm going to make sure that he knows exactly where I'm at too. And, going through infertility, if you are like, I was the one who was the big pusher, like, I don't care, give me something, give me a test, give me a pill, give me like whatever, I will take whatever to get me pregnant. And I didn't necessarily listen to him. He's saying, what, like, I've lost my wife. She's gone crazy. Like, she's hopped up on hormones and she's making financial decisions and she's not even talking to me anymore.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to really stop and pull back and really set the plan for the both of you and be like, what is the best choice? Like, what is a hard stop? Like, when we get to this point, it's a hard stop, and it's not maybe a stop forever, but it's a hard stop for right now. And we got to pull ourselves back together, and we got to fix some stuff and heal some wounds and throw some stuff in there and get this foundation strong again. And then at that point in time, we'll renegotiate. That's really like, that's what every single marriage, regardless of infertility, needs to be, is it's like, you're gonna have some stuff that's going to come up. It's going to be hard, but I also see that infertility, I learned a lot about my marriage and about who I was real early. And I'm like, I'm glad we got that stuff out of the way.
Right. Like, we just check that off the list.
Because it's like, I actually, I mean, I'm mid 30s, he's low 40s, and we still have a lot of life to live and a lot of hardships that still have yet to come up. But we still have a lot of life to live. And I'm so grateful that we had that hard season early on that I feel like really breaks a lot of people. And there is hope. You don't have to let it break you. It's a choice.
You're living proof. You're standing and you're even stronger because of it, right?
Yes. So I'm glad that we, I hate that we had to go through it. It's something that nobody ever wants to go through. I actually was a infertility support group leader for a while. And the CEO of the company that I was repping with, she called it the infertility sorority. It was the sorority that no one wanted to join. But once you were there, like, you found your people, like, you 100%, like, you could connect, you could make such good relationships and friendships out of that group. but you like hoped no one would join you. You're like, please do not join this sorority because it's not a good one to join. But then once you find out people are, going through fertility, you're like, please come join us because you're not going to survive it without, and that's kind of another little piece that I want to bring to, just because it's like that community, like I've been there, I know, I don't know if I'll ever forget. I don't know if I'll ever forget that pain and that suffering that I went through. And I don't know if I ever want to, because it made me who I am, that I am now. And I'm thankful for it. But at the same time, it's like, man, you want to talk about like rug burns and feeling like drug behind a bus. I mean, like I've got the battle scars, to show that no matter what you can get through, no matter
Absolutely.
what you can survive.
One of my questions for you is actually going to be, if somebody was going through infertility right now, where should they even start? And it sounds like this support group would be a great place. I'm assuming these are free. They're not paid.
Yes. Yep. I have a free community. I am, I kind of went back and forth on it because, Facebook has an amazing community, for the group side that you can utilize and roll out of. But the one thing that I see a lot in the infertility space is Facebook can almost become toxic when you're going through infertility because it has an algorithm. And that algorithm, it feeds off of what you're doing. So if you are searching infertility, you're finding infertility groups, you are, anything to do with having a baby, you will see more baby announcements. You will have more pregnancy ads. You will have more baby ads that pop up. And all of that stuff, after a while, it starts to spiral you, because it's almost like feeding into where you are. Now, granted, I can talk about, Converse shoes, and I can go on Facebook and all of a sudden I'll have an ad for Converse shoes that pop up. And it's like, what? Who's listening to me? Stop listening to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like Facebook
the metaverse.
Yes, I feel like that's what it is. And so I really struggled with, I wanted to create a community that those people could go to that doesn't have an algorithm, that doesn't spiral. They can pop in, they can pop out. And, it's brand new. I'm literally just starting it. And I'm really excited about it too. And it's just, it's what I call like, it's a safe space, because there's only going to be people there that are going through what you're going through. And there's no ads, there's no nothing, it's just conversation and community. And yeah, so it's a free one. And you're welcome to join or welcome to stay where you're at, as long as you're being served. That's the biggest thing. I don't care whatever you do, as long as you are being served. If you're not being served, then come check it out. I'm pretty sure with you, with a business owner, what it's like. You want to help people.
Yeah.
That's why you and I do what we do, because we want to help people.
That's the whole point of this podcast, for no other reason but to help other people. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
And you don't want to help somebody who doesn't need help. What fun is that?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. There are plenty of other places they can go hang out.
Yes.
Well, I love that you have that community. I love that you have that supportive group of people who can connect, who are going through the same thing, because you're right. Facebook can be so toxic. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen people post things just in my personal world about miscarriages that they've had, and then the nasty comments that people put up on there, and it's just awful. And that's a whole other conversation that we don't need to dive into, but you understand what I'm saying. But It's great that you do have that place for people to connect. So can you share that community, the name of the community, where people can find that, where they can find you if they want to learn more?
So actually right now it's closed just because I'm doing final touches on it. But it will be opening probably by the time that this podcast airs. It will be open. So I ask you to jump on Instagram, and I will have links and everything on my profile, and it'll take you right to the page to opt in. But my community is actually on Telegram. So
Oh, love
I'm
that.
really, really excited. I found a gal that's really business savvy on Telegram, and I'm just blown away by what that platform offers. And I'm super excited about it. So yeah.
Oh, that makes you want to dive into it. I use it
Yeah.
with one business thing that I do, but I've never really dove into that for a community. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
What I'll put the link to the show notes to your social media pages and all that, but what is the link to what's your Instagram handle for people to easily find?
It's just at Jamie Bendorf. So
Perfect.
it's just literally my name.
Perfect. Easy enough. Well, thank you again, Jamie, for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story. And like I said before, I know that there are people who are listening to this or who will listen to this in the future who will be positively impacted by you sharing your story. So even though you did go through that struggle, it's now beautiful how you're helping so many other women who are going through that same process right now. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me on here. I'm truly blessed and honored, and I'm excited.
All right. Thank you again.